Okay, so we're going to kick off our Black History Month series here with Cory Vaughn, who is one of the most prolific offensive players that the Cyclones have ever seen. He was here in 2010. He set all sorts of franchise records that they needed to extend us to a full season so somebody could break them. So first off, thank you for joining us. We're happy to have you here, and we're excited to catch up and see what you've been up to in the last few years.
Thanks for having me. Brooklyn was a big part of my life, first step in pro ball and kind of traveling. So I appreciate you guys for having me on.
So I guess we'll start there. So you get drafted in 2010, fourth round. You're excited. The West Coast guy. Your first stop, you get dropped right in the middle of New York City here in Coney Island. What was that adjustment like for you, getting used to being on your own halfway across the world, basically from your home and where you're going to school?
I was pretty excited. The only time I was really in New York was in 1998 when my dad was playing against the Yankees in the World Series. And so, I'm kind of pumped there. And the scout who drafted me or whatever was Fred Mazuka. And he goes, "Yeah, you're going to be in Brooklyn." So I'm like, "Okay, Brooklyn, it's kind of crazy. Never been out there, Jay-Z. I'm, listening to all that stuff." So first night we get in there, it's like me and four other players. We flew out of Sacramento that I didn't know were, drafted by the Mets or we were on the same team, but you can kind of tell because one guy had a backpack with a glove on it. And so we, as the flights went on, we kind of started talking to each other and we were all together. We get dropped off in Brooklyn. I don't know what hotel it was at. And it was just madness on the streets at 1 a.m. I'm like, oh boy, I'm in for a treat. And then the first half of the season, we stayed at the NYU Polytech dorms and we were catching the subway. And this was the first time I ever been on the subway to the field. The last stop in Coney Island. And, it was just it was a trip. Those memories I have in Brooklyn, I will never forget my entire life. I was talking to Benny DiStefano and Daryl Siciliani, who's one of my best friends, and same with Rylan Sandoval. And we were just all reminiscing on the times. And Benny says that's the best year of baseball he's ever had in his life. And it all started with Brooklyn.
Yeah, and from what I've been told, I wasn't here in 2010, but from the stories that get passed on, to us here in the front office, that team was unlike any other team we've had in terms of the closeness and the camaraderie that was built into it. And of course, having Wally Backman as the manager, I'm sure that was an interesting part of it as well. But what do you remember most about Wally and just that team itself and how you bonded together?
First, the team. We were all real close and tight, which was, as my career went on, I saw that was pretty rare. We all love to be there, love to show up to the ballpark every day. Everybody got along. Group activities after the games, it was like the whole team was there. I know we'd go out in, I believe it was Bay Ridge, and it'd be the whole team would be at a certain restaurant or whatever, all just hanging out. And then Wally, I didn't know anything about him really until I get drafted. And, my buddy's like, "Yo, you're playing for this guy, Wally Backman." And I'm like, who? I don't really know who that is. And like, look at this video.
Yeah, you see some YouTube clips and all of a sudden now I know.
Like, oh boy, I'm in for this is going to be nuts. So we get there and Wally, he was the one thing I loved about Wally my whole career, even when I was with him in Vegas, was that he was a straight shooter. He wasn't going to sugarcoat anything. He was going to tell you how it was. And he played with intensity back in the day, and that's how he coached. And if you just played the game the right way and did whatever was best for the team, he always had your back, and that's what I'm really grateful for.
So is there something that sort of sticks out to you from that year? Is there a game or an at-bat or something where you were like, all right, this is it. I'm a professional baseball player now. This is my career. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life here. What?
The one thing that made it real, this is probably going to sound weird, but was the first bus ride. Everybody's playing cards on the bus. And I know my dad, always was playing spades and pluck. And they hand me the deck, and I never really played cards or shuffling decks in college. I was out doing other things, and I didn't know how to shuffle. really. So we're on the bus ride going to like, a short trip over the Verrazano Bridge to Staten Island. And they give me the cards and I'm like sitting there doing the old man chalk. And they're like, Bonnie, you never shuffle cards. I said, no, but this is what I'll learn. And it just, that was like the pro ball feel. And then I got home and I'm, doing the bridge, all this stuff on the cards. I'm like, oh, my dad goes, oh, yep, you're in pro ball. I can tell, and just the whole bus rides, traveling around different cities. Brooklyn kind of spoiled me because all the fans, and that was basically my big leagues. I was that season, I said, oh man, this is what the minors are like. I said, this is unbelievable. We had the beach bums on the dugouts, little cheerleader. I'm like, this is crazy. It was wild. And then, so it was a hoot. And it's literally one of the best memories of my entire life is being out there and first experiencing pro ball in Brooklyn, playing in Coney Island. And just it was like me on my own, I'm 3,000 miles away and me and my teammates, and let's get after it and, live.
So it's always cool to hear that, guys talk about their first experience, you're playing in front of all these fans and then you go to St. Lucie or you go to Savannah or you go to Binghamton and it's a little smaller. And even in Vegas, but Vegas before Vegas became this new stadium that's gorgeous and everything. So it's always, it seems backwards. You start off at the high note. And then
like Brooklyn should have been the AAA.
So that year also, you guys made it to the championship round against, I think it was Jamestown, right? And I was looking, just doing some prep on stuff. Marcelo Zuna was the dude on Jamestown, and that guy, he hit 21 home runs that season in a short season. You hit 14, which was our franchise record, right? Was the record up until this year when we played 120 games, right? But what was that dude like? When you seen Marcelo Zuna in the other dugout, the other uniform, and he's just mashing? Was that like you see him and you're like, all right, so that's a big leaguer, and that's gonna be he's gonna be an all-star and all that other stuff, or was it just another guy that you saw that could hit the ball?
Well, it was a trip. Me and Ozuna played against each other damn near every single year in the minors until we got to like the AAA point, and then he got up to the show. And in Brooklyn, we were neck and neck, and then he just took off. And he was like a real jovial, happy dude. And then the next year in Savannah, I didn't hit too many homers. But then in Florida State League, we were neck and neck again. And I was telling him, I said, man, I can't catch you or beat you any single time in these home runs. He's like, oh, it's okay, Papi. He's like, you strong, Papi, you strong. So we had a good relationship. But just seeing him, he played the game as if he were like a big kid, which, you're seeing is being brought back to the game now. And that was his personality when he played. Just have fun, swing hard. And if he strikes out 4 times, who cares? Someone else is going to pay tomorrow. So our relationship was pretty tight whenever we play against each other throughout the years. And you could just tell that he just had that swing and that raw power and had a cannon from the outfield that he was going to be a really good player.
So once you leave Brooklyn and you advance, and obviously make it up to AAA, what was sort of the biggest difference for you and sort of the hardest thing for you to overcome and adjust to as you moved along in the system?
I think it was just handling failure at times. My first couple seasons, it was like how I expected it to go. I put in the work in the off season. All the hay was in the barn. Had great years, and there was no really stress. But then the higher I got up, especially when I got to AA, I started to realize that, I had control of my own career, but a lot of other stuff dictates where you go and if you're going to advance or whatnot. So it was a lot more politics that I never realized were in the game that I finally realized when I got a little, closer to the show, and just dealing with that and just worrying about things you can control were things I really had to adapt to.
Yeah, I always, there's a guy, TJ Rivera, that I'm sure you've probably, his path crossed yours at some point. And everywhere he went, that dude hit 330. Like he was in AA hitting 330, he was in AAA hitting 330. And you're always wondering, when is he going to actually get a chance? And it took like forever. It's something that I'm sure you can relate to finally get that chance to break through and make the show.
Yeah.
How difficult was it for you to get to AAA and just be knocking on the door and not get that opportunity and not get a chance to, sort of complete the dream?
Yeah. It was, at first it was really rough, because I had a good year in 2010, 2011, 2012. I had a great year in 2013. And I think the turning point in my career was in 2013. I got hurt in Binghamton. So I played 70 games. I hit like 270 with 10 homers, like 50 RBIs in 70 games. And I thought that was, and Binghamton was cold and the first couple of months. So I'm sitting there after the season, like, oh man, I hope I did enough not to have to go back to AA. It's freezing. If you could just hit above 200 the first month in the cold weather, you'll be fine. And I go to spring training, I go to big league camp, and I'm doing well. And finally, like the last week comes into camp and they say, hey, you're going to go back to Binghamton. And I was kind of shocked and, not super upset, but just kind of dreading going back and hitting in the 20-degree weather for the first month when I kind of thought I already proved myself. And so after that, I was trying to play catch up and really show people that I didn't, belong there and I should have been somewhere else, and just put too much pressure and stress on myself, and didn't have a first couple good months. And then finally got brought up to AAA. And then I was kind of caught in the changing of the guard, and in today's game, the younger the younger you are, the better. It's almost right. Well, when I got to AAA, it was like, hey, let's keep some of the older guys up there in the show, and let's let these younger guys develop a little bit, no matter how long they are in their career. So I missed that little generation by a few years, but looking back at it, I was super upset that I didn't, get all the way to the show. But at the same time, I have great memories, and I firmly believe everything happens for a reason. And I mean, I have no regrets about anything.
So your time with the Mets comes to an end, and you go to indie ball for a little bit. You had success there. Was there ever an opportunity you thought where, maybe another team was going to come by and maybe I'd get another sniff at this?
Yeah. And I believe it was like 2018 or 2017 or 2018. Our manager was like bringing me into the office, and he was telling me that the Dodgers were interested in, taking me. So I was all excited. It was between me and another guy, and they took the other guy, which was fine, and at this point in my career, when I was in indie ball, I was like, okay, I got like another year or two, because I don't want to be sitting here doing this until I'm 35 years old. And then when I get out, have no resume to do anything, So, and then I got a few calls from Mexico. I would have played in Mexico, but then that kind of just fell through for some reason. And then, talks of Japan or, other leagues here and there. But once again, it was all kind of just like, yeah, they're coming, and they would come. And then, hey, we're going to get you the contract, whoop-de-whoop. And then it was just crickets from there. So, but yeah, it is, I probably needed a little, what was it? 2016 was my last year, I believe, or 2015 was my last year. I believe, you remember when Wilmer Flores was about to get traded and he was crying on the field? I remember I was in Sacramento at the time. There was at one point, I believe I was in the talks to be thrown in that, which, might have gave me some new life here and there, but, Wilmer wasn't happy. So that trade kind of fell through, and that was the end of time with me and the Mets. But, I loved it.
Carlos Gomez's hamstrings or whatever it was. Who knows?
Right?
Life could have been different.
Right.
So what have you been up to now? I mean, the baseball's over for you. What are you doing now? Is baseball still a part of your life? What's the last 2 years been like for you?
I have an 8-year-old son. So, the past couple of years have been kind of crazy with COVID. So he didn't really get to play T-ball out here. California's a little crazy. And so this is his first year of baseball. And like for the past month,
wow.
If anybody's seen on my Instagram, we've been like practicing every single day. Not to the point where I'm like forcing him, to hey, let's go to G-Paw's house and let's go in the cage and hit. But like he enjoys it, and we've been going out there every single day for for the past month, and I got him switch hitting, and he's loving it. And aside
Switch
from that,
hitting at 8 years old.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's
I'm
dedication.
a switch hitting catcher. So, worst case scenario, if he can just call a good game and hit 210, he can be in the show for a little bit,
For sure.
And then I'm a newly hired firefighter out here, which was a nice change of pace. But it's kind of still that same locker room feel, being around all the guys or gals in the department. And it's because when I got done, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I met enough people in my life and made connections where I know I could go kind of any avenue I want, because as you get older, you realize life's majorly about who you know, not what you know at all times. So, I talked to some buddies. They're like, hey, you should try to, go get your EMT license, do this, and then apply for a fire. And I did that and got the offer, and it's been history ever since. So it's a change of pace. And, I get more stressed during like the little EMT, calls and fire calls than I did playing in front of huge crowds. And it's a trip because all these other guys, the other firefighters are just, it's just normal to them. Me, I'm still so new. I get a little nervous. And like, how do you get nervous when you're playing in front of all those people? I'm like, yo, it's different. I've been doing this since I was 5.
I'm sure. So, life or death, not ball 1, ball 2.
Exactly.
So what's I've found it interesting because a lot of guys, when they're done, I've talked to some other guys that have played with us and have moved on. A lot of them get into cops, firemen, and they mentioned the camaraderie part of it. And it's something I never thought of, where it's sort of that locker room mentality, fraternity, sorority, mixture kind of thing. It's very cool.
It is. And and the other reason is because when you play for so long, and a lot of us leave after our junior year, it's like I said, we really don't have a resume. It's like I haven't been working for Morgan Stanley at the office for the past 6 years to go get hired at different companies. So a lot of the fire departments and the police departments, they want people with life experience, and me being able to travel across the country, around the globe playing ball, they like that I'm a little bit more mature. Being so new, I in the interviews, I told them, I'm green, but that means I have no bad habits, so they just, and the whole camaraderie effect, because I would tell them I know how to get along with people of all different races, backgrounds, upbringings, and they really like that. And because, not everybody can get along with everybody. And not everybody's used to being around people nonstop. So, and I am, so I thought that was a good fit, and they did too. So, I was more than ecstatic.
If you can survive a bus trip from Brooklyn to Batavia or Jamestown or whatever with 30 guys, you can survive anything. So
you ain't lying.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time for joining us, and glad to hear everything's going well. Good luck with Little League this year. I'm sure that'll be a life-changing event for you as well. But thank you, and we'll always be checking out your Instagram to see how things are going out there.
Without a doubt, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much.